the laugh because Len was trying to find the yes record button because of today's, and we're laughing because of today's topic. But first, I'm Bree Stockwell, and you are here with my co-host, Len Metcalf, who is in Sydney, and I'm in Austin, Texas. Okay, and today's topic is creative opportunities, but really saying yes to creative opportunities. So say yes to recording the podcast.
Say yes. I love saying yes. Do you love saying yes, Brie?
I do, but it's not always that easy. I think saying yes can sometimes feel like there are times I've said yes and I'm like it resonates through my body. I'm like 200%, 1000% yes. Like this is a no-brainer. And then there are other times I'm like, yes, like a question. And so like when you were like, let's do a podcast, I think I was maybe a little bit more than the question part, but I was like, okay, I will try that. And I think there's a lot that goes into that. But tell me, do you like saying yes, Len?
I have sometimes these moments where it's like, oh my God, no. I definitely have them. And I have these moments of fear. I was actually rock climbing the other day with my son, and we were out and we were going up this huge cliff. And I haven't done that for a very long time. And I led him up a 70-meter climb with multiple pitches. And I hadn't been on that climb for 30 years or something, 20 years. I haven't really done those sort of things. And I knew I wanted to get him up there. It's the easiest and the first climb up the whole cliff. And I'd done it hundreds of times, but my friend had hurt himself on that very climb. And it was actually when I basically gave up, I think, was when he hurt himself on that same climb. And I took my son and I get up, and it's a very easy but an incredibly scary move. And I'm high enough up, if I slip and fall, I'm going to hurt myself. And I'm standing there and I want to go, yes, I'm going to do this, and no, I'm not. And back and forth between, am I going to do it or not? So I went down, I changed my runners and moved up so it felt a little bit safer, and then came back. And there was this really clear moment where I said to myself, yes, I'm going to do this. And I stepped over and I took this risk and overcame my fear and got to the other side. It was only one simple move, but it scared the hell out of me. And I think that changed me. I'd gotten back to something that I loved in my youth that was very, very important to me, this risk-taking, this doing something, and this saying yes to taking risks. And I think I've shut that away for a very long period of time, this fear. And I was talking to my psychologist about it in therapy, and I said to him, hey, I'm getting scareder as I get older of things. And he goes, yeah, that's normal. We all do that, Len. So
That's true.
Creative risks, I say yes all the time. And I absolutely dive in with enthusiasm when someone asks me to do something, and try to put away that fear that I've been talking about there that builds up over years. And, you can end up with this automatic no, and it sits deep inside you and you go, oh, no, I'm not going there. And it becomes a block, doesn't it? And gets us in the way.
Yeah. And I think even just reframing creative risks to creative opportunities kind of automatically changes how we could see them, because, and a lot of opportunities do feel risky because there's fear there. But when we think about opportunities, then we see them in a different way, like the pathway to growth, or maybe the pathway to making more money with our art, or, so many different ways. What we were talking about money.
I'm just laughing at the sneaking that in there. Bree did she went through some cards and pulled one out for me, and it said, I picked it, and she pulled it out, and it said, it's now safe for you to ask for money. So thank you for reminding me there, Bree.
You're welcome. Yeah, I have this set of cards. It's kind of really fun. Well, it talks about the spirit of your business is That's the cards, messages from the spirit of your business. But, could be messages from your creative spirit, right? Like, what does your creative spirit want you to be doing? And that maybe this is an interesting turn right here when we're talking about creative opportunities. This is such a great time to check in with ourselves, and we are presented with an opportunity. What are we going, are we going to say yes? Why wouldn't we say yes? And what are the risks? What are the rewards? I mean, I think I love saying yes so often to things that I have time for and energy for, right? Like, I don't think we want to say yes to everything. We need to pay attention to what we're actually capable of, not what we believe we're capable of, but what we're actually capable of, right? Oh, wait, where was I going with this? I want to say yes so often.
No idea.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying I want to say yes so often because there's something about saying yes and moving forward that builds confidence for me. And like doing something, even though I'm freaked out about it, will give me the opportunity to work through that in my brain. So don't you think that's what saying yes does for you? I mean, when you said yes to the climb, then when you committed to that, you were like, I'm saying yes to this. I'm committing to do this. It automatically changed what you were thinking. You were like, I'm going to put away the no and all the reasons why the no and figure out now how to do the yes part, like how to actually move forward to get it done. And maybe this is a good plug for not sitting in indecision. I think we should either decide yes or no. And I think my opinion is we should do those things quickly, right? Look at all of the different factors and then make a decision. What feels good to you? Yes. Not what feels comfortable. I didn't say what feels comfortable. A lot of times, yes feels really uncomfortable. Like, Len, when you were getting ready to climb, wasn't that pretty uncomfortable? When you're like, yeah, I'm going to climb. And
No.
you didn't still feel scared.
Oh, no, I didn't feel it until I was halfway up.
Oh,
and I could die if I made the wrong mistake. Oh, I couldn't die, but I would have broken my leg. And that was the moment. It was like, what the hell am I doing here? And now I have to keep going. I've already committed and I'm here and I have to step over the fear. And making the decision to do it was a lot more. And I could have turned around and gone, no, this is not the moment to do that, and backed off. But it's interesting because that metaphor, like that was only a few weeks ago, and that metaphor has been really powerful to remind me that I can overcome my fears again. And I think I'd lost that for quite a long period of time, this really strong inner strength. And that sort of has helped as one of the building blocks to go, yeah, I can actually overcome fears and actually do things that I'm scared of and work through them. Now, I really want to bring this over for me into the creative world because I absolutely love to say yes to creative opportunities. And I do want to give examples and there's a gallery space free on in November. Would you like to take it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I would.
That's a moment where and some people will go, oh my God, I don't know what I'm going to exhibit. And I'm scared to it, or do I want to be in front of people? That's too big a job. I can't possibly pull that off. But through experience, I know I can pull that off, that I could start printing a show tomorrow. I could take it down to the framers in a few days. I could have it framed and I could have one ready in probably about 3 weeks' time just by going into my catalogue of work. And the hardest bit would be choosing what to show. But the yes would, if that opportunity came and said, you've only got a very short period of time and you're going for it, I would dive in for that opportunity as quickly as possible. But that's actually come from experience of doing that in the past. Books are the same.
Yeah, we find evidence that we can do these things based on how we've done it in the past. I think it's scary though when we've never done something like that before. So if someone came to me and said, we have an opening in a gallery? Do you want to do it? I would say yes, but also all of those questions would come up for me. Do I have work that feels good enough to exhibit? How do I do this? And so for some of us, the yes is going to require more of us. Like for you saying yes to the gallery space, it will be work, but maybe not as much work as it would be for me, right? Or for someone else who doesn't necessarily have that experience. And so I think obviously there are different levels of yes. I mean, I just had a request today. Could you speak to it was Linda Nickel. She runs, she's here in the Austin area, and she runs this Texas women photographers group. And I love that. And so she was like, Bree, can you come speak to us? And I'm like, well, yes. But also I've already spoken to a camera club, like a photo club before, just done it the one time. So for me, I'm like, and also, for me also, I've also put together webinars and presented. And so like on my own. And so saying yes was like, okay, well, I can do that. I have to prepare. I don't have something totally prepared because I'm still new at doing this, but I know I can totally do it and put something together that I will be really happy with. Right. So for everyone, the yes is going to look a little bit different. You might have to overcome bigger hurdles on the way than other people. We should write this down, Len. We should have a podcast episode about comparing ourselves. Don't you think?
I'm writing it down as we speak.
He's writing it down right now, you guys, because not everyone's yes looks the same. And for someone else, doing the gallery would look like a hard no for various reasons, right? And so
there's a bit of a trick here, isn't there? And that's one of the things that you're alluding to here, is that we actually need to build ourselves up, don't we? So we need to take little baby steps into those different directions. So to get to the whole exhibiting a whole show, joining in a group show, and like here in Sydney, there's numerous galleries, and there's probably 5 to 10 opportunities that I can name off the top of my head that allow you to just put one artwork in a show, and overcoming that little risk, going and actually choosing a work, framing it, and going and putting it into an exhibition, putting a price on it, writing a little statement for it, going to the opening, seeing it on the wall, talking to people about your artwork,
right?
Having to listen to someone tell you it's good. Like, my God, how confronting is that going to be?
Right.
And our fear is that someone's going to go, that's crap. And no one says that. Like, people aren't that rude, are they?
Well, I don't know. Some people do. They might whisper and you might overhear. They might whisper it and you might overhear them. But that is part of the risk of saying yes. Like, we do open ourselves to, there's vulnerability. I follow Brene Brown. I don't know if you guys do. She's just this expert on vulnerability, but there is a lot of vulnerability in saying yes many, many times, and opening ourselves up to opportunity also makes us more vulnerable. And then there's little things that we can address on the way. Like, how do we get over that fear? You know what I mean? So I share a bunch of those tricks in my creative confidence workshop. Lots of these. It's really fun. All of the reasons for not to say yes, we help you say yes in a way that's really feels really good. But, I think perfectionism can keep us from saying yes. Like, what if it's not perfect? I'm trying to think, if there's anything I would say no to? Is there anything you would say no to? Oh, maybe don't answer that.
Create a huge amount of work for me.
Right. With very little pay or reward.
Yeah. Without very little reward, and things that put myself or my family or my finances at risk. There's thousands of things we're going to say no to, and we should clearly say no to that. People overstep boundaries and maybe overshare or ask too much of us, and we do need very, very healthy and clear lines in the sand and say, no, that's not appropriate and not to step over there. But,
Yeah.
we're talking about creative risks
Right.
and ones that we're scared to take that may push us to that edge of vulnerability, of being seen. I really think that many of us are quite afraid to be successful, or we maybe even have imposter syndrome when we are, that like, oh, my work really isn't that good, or I don't even know how to use the camera. How come I won the competition? I know someone that won a competition and that stopped them taking photos for a year because of the self-imposed pressure about perfectionism, like, oh, how do I live up to myself again? And, competitions, winning them are just luck, really, when it comes to it. Well, if there's multiple judges, you just happen to have to agree.
Right. I was also thinking, I was thinking a lot of these creative opportunities we're talking about are maybe ones that are presented to us. But what about opportunities that we just think up? Like, I've had these ideas like, oh, I should do that. Like, what if I did this? What if we could try that? And it's like my intuition, my creative intuition is speaking to me and nudging me in a direction. And I think so many times in order to honor that, we want to say yes to whatever it is that our intuition is telling us to do. And I do think it's a decision. I think we want to either say yes or say no and not kind of be in that in between. I don't know if I should do that. I don't know if should I do it? Should I not do it? And I just know I've been practicing this, when those thoughts come to me that feel like, we've talked about this too, like this creative intuition. When those thoughts come to me that feel like that resonates deep inside, like creative intuition, I immediately want to say yes. And now I usually freak out because I'm like, well, how am I going to do that? But I do know that I have enough experience that those nudges don't steer me in a wrong direction. Like, they always lead me into really amazing things. And so I just know that I always want to say yes. And so that's actually a really interesting thought that I like to have is I say yes when it feels right to me. And you said one of the thoughts that this is the work that I do. One of the thoughts that you came with was like, I know I can do this even when I feel fear. Like, I can move forward with my yes, even when I feel fear. And there was something else too. I'll have to go back and listen. We'll write it down in the notes. But these are really important things to, right? These are really important things to remind yourself of and to hold these beliefs for yourself so that when an opportunity, whether internal or external, comes to you, you can go, okay, what do I already believe about me that I can now draw on to help me decide whether I'm going to say yes? I think though that can be really helpful.
I've got a lovely little trick up my sleeve, and Bree and I do this all the time, folks, is that when I'm feeling doubtful and I haven't decided to say yes and I may be thinking no, I talk through the idea. And so I might sit down, like Bree and I talk for hours before we record. And actually what we're doing is sharing ideas and talking about our lives. And through the process of talking, like, I know when I tell Bree, she's just going to go, yeah, that's great, you should do it. But as I'm talking about it, I can actually monitor my own feelings, and I come to peace with it or get more excited, or also I can talk myself out of it in that process of talking about it to someone. And of course, you've got to choose who you talk to the things about very, very carefully. But that process, by verbalizing it, helps me analyze it, and then that helps me understand my feelings towards it. And it's so often through conversations that after the conversation, I go, yeah, I need to do that. And off I go, and I've got a really clear direction after the conversation. And I've been sitting on it for a very long time, and it was the talking to someone else And it wasn't what they said. It was the clarification that I had to put in to verbalize it to somebody else. Like I was just I'm thinking about my a new business and about asking for money and those sort of things in my business. And something just popped up and it said, you should be able to describe your business clearly in one page. And through talking to it to people and selling it over and over in my head, this clarification and narrowing it down to very, very simple, this is what I'm going to do, really helps focus the direction and the energy. So talking to people is an incredibly powerful way to find this yes or no and to get out of indecision. I love that as a trick.
I love that trick too.
Do you have any tricks about yes or no?
Yeah, yes. Yes, I do. Yes. So one of my tricks is to actually say yes, tell myself I'm saying yes to this, and then see how it feels. Like actually make the decision, knowing that I can pull back if I want to. But like I think when you tell yourself you're making the decision, okay, I have done this. I have said yes to something and immediately my brain was like, did you hear me snap? My brain was like, oh yeah, that is a definite no. Like as soon as I said, yeah, we're going to say yes, my whole body went, and you are not going to say yes. And so it was a really great clarification. Instead of sitting in the middle, I was like, well, I'm going to decide one way or the other and see how that feels. I've also done this where I'm like, I'm going to say no. And then immediately I'm like, that is an absolute mistake. So, I think we can do that. We can do that too, talk it out, or we can just make a decision and see what happens. Gosh, so many fun things that we could say yes to.
I've got a lovely metaphor. I love driving down roads that I don't know where they're going. Like, oh, there's a turn off the main road. And it's like, wonder where that goes. And obviously there's no trespassing signs. And off I head down this dirt road. And that turning down there's that definite yes. Yeah. And then I go down this road and it turns into 4-wheel drive. So I lock my hubs and I put it in 4-wheel drive. I go a bit further and then it's like, oh, that's even worse down there. And here's this good spot for me to stop because I could turn around here and go back, and I might even walk down, go and have a bit of a look. And then I go, no, I'm not in the mood to go down there and go back to my car, turn around and drive back out again. And as a metaphor, I find this is what you were saying there is that I often say yes, start down the path and feel it and actually then see how it sits with me and then might say no. So I've actually recently done this. I wanted to start a YouTube channel and I wanted to do live streaming, and I had this grandiose idea that I could market through YouTube and I could be a YouTube celebrity and talk, or whatever that word is, and talk about photography and art on YouTube really comfortably and beautifully, and, record 2 hours at a time and chop them up into 10-minute segments. And I have the next 2 months of videos. So months and months, like 6 months of planning. I built a studio. The video person came. We bought equipment. We set it all up. We tried one. And then afterwards, I'm looking at it.
You did it.
I tried one. I did one. I did a live stream. We had people there. We made the videos. And we did that in November, and we're recording now in, is it February yet? I think it is February. And that was months ago. And I haven't been able to think about it since. And I haven't been able to come up with, and there's been absolutely zero energy in the next episode and doing it. And eventually it's just like, I don't like myself, how I'm looking. I don't like the way I'm presenting. I don't like the amount of stress. I don't like the amount of planning. I don't like being in public and being criticized in that manner. Having comments underneath. There's a whole lot of things that became a little bit of a wall. And then I'm looking at my videos going, oh, I made a mistake there. I shouldn't have said that. And I'm so highly critical of myself. that I've decided, no, that's not going to be the best way to push my energy into the future. And many, many conversations later, I now have a new plan. And it seems the new plan is so much clearer, stronger, and more beautiful, and something that I can commit to and present myself in the way that I'd rather do it. And I can also flog the little videos to make money that I'm planning on doing. But the key word is that they're more authentic.
Yeah.
They're so much more authentically me. And so what I actually planned and went down, I had to go and see what it was like to come back to no. And now it's a really clear line in the sand, like, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't need to do that. There's other ways to market myself. Let's find ways that are more authentic and work clearer with me and do stuff that work with me. So I think saying yes and trying, and then also having the guts and the fortitude and the honesty to say no as you're heading down that path, to say, no, this isn't for me. I'm going to turn around and stop. Like if you say yes to an exhibition and, oh my God, it is totally overwhelming and you can't cope, you need to pull the plug. Like that is a bit of exhibitionist in us, isn't it, to wanting to do that. And that's not for absolutely everyone. And it takes a certain sort of person that wants to put their work out into public. And there's nothing wrong with making art for yourself and never showing anyone.
Yeah. I also
beautiful.
think too, if you want to show your work and you feel a lot of, resistance to it, but you still want to do it, then you might need to find a really good mentor to help you through the process. That's what we do. I'm just saying. So, right? That's what we do.
I had a beautiful book arrive in my post yesterday from a lady, Barbara, and it's a beautiful note saying, thank you for all your teaching and support. This is a little book of my exhibition that I have up at the moment, and I wouldn't have done it without you getting here. And I've actually mentored quite a number of people through this process of having an exhibition. And when I do a masterclass, we have an exhibition as part of that process as well for people to experience it. And you're exactly right. Finding that mentor that can help you and, all the shortcuts. I know like Shirley Steele and we teach together. When she has an exhibition, she shows me the work so I can say to her, yes, you've made the right decision. And that's what I say. She wants, which one should I put in? And I'm like, well, which ones do you want? And I'm like, yeah, well, that's pretty good. I think that's really fantastic. But just having that person reinforce your decision-making and saying, well, that's incredibly beautiful. Just go with your intuition. You're right. Can be that little, that little push over the top of the hill that feels too big.
Sometimes when we say yes,
mentors
we're not quite
are amazing.
Yeah. I think sometimes when we say yes, we're so not sure how it's going to go. Like we're just not. And, especially if it's something that feels really big. Well, we did an episode on impossible goals, so you can go listen to that one. But that's when you want to find someone to help you go through the process because it is going to be a time of like exponential growth. So, and just knowing that some parts are going to be really hard, and you might get to some deep sand and you might figure out how to get through it. I have a thought about your YouTube channel, Len.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking if you hadn't have said yes to doing the YouTube stuff, it may not have shown you what you don't want. And you may not have arrived at where you are now. So saying yes is actually all part of the process to get where you are now. I don't think it was a mistake in any way. What do you think about that?
Well, it's like driving down that road. It's not a mistake to drive down it, is it?
No.
And if you think of it as only as a mistake, you're totally wrong. It's an adventure. It's an exploration. Yeah, you have to to find out your direction, you have to try things, don't you? You have to try things. Some things you know clearly I don't want to do. Yeah, but you have to try, I'm going to try this and see whether it works or whether this is me. It's even like software. Like, I try this software. That one doesn't quite fit. Do I work harder to study it better?
Right.
Or do I go with the one that feels more comfortable? There's all these little things are so important. Like we buy camera equipment and we try it and go, that doesn't work, and then we sell it. And that happens all the time as well. Like we have to try things. And I think saying yes is actually about having an attitude of, I'm going to try stuff that interests me to see whether it actually fits with me very, very strongly. And I wouldn't be where I'm at now without that.
Oh, so it's about creative curiosity.
Yes.
I just love this idea of saying yes. Here's what we want to do. We want to encourage you, our audience, to say yes more often. Yes. So say yes. Just 3 letters or however you say it in your language. Right? And just say yes. Say yes. Yes. Yeah. And just try it. Just try it.
You can change your mind. It doesn't matter. You can say no afterwards. Like, you can, you don't have to keep going. Like, give it a go. And yes, don't take any silly risks. If you know it's a no, don't go there. But those things that are niggling at you and pulling at you and drawing you in that you're a little bit scared of, go for those.
Totally. Hey, Len.
Bree.
Guess what I will say yes to?
Yeah. Oh. My mind just goes, whoa, what are you going to say yes?
You stop that right now. No, I'm just kidding. If we plan an in-person workshop in Australia, I will say yes to coming and doing that.
Yes.
Yes.
Because that's like me saying yes to coming to America to run one too with you.
Right. But I want to come to Australia first.
I know when I tell people I'm coming to America, I'm like, I'm definitely going to Texas.
I don't know why you would, but I mean, Texas is great, but
Because you're there, Bree. I'm coming to see you to run a workshop with you. That's why I'm coming to Texas. I'll follow you. It's all right.
Absolutely. All right. We should plan that in the future. That'd be really fun.
Definitely.
So yes, in the future.
Yes.
I will say yes.
Yes.
2024.
Yes.
All right, everyone. You know what I'm going to say yes to right now, Len?
What?
Finishing this episode.
I was going to say, I'm so pleased that you said yes to creating this podcast with me, and the magic time that you and I spend together on air and off air is just it's a part of my week. I really look forward to recording this, and I hope that comes across to everyone else listening. But there's a little bit of magic, and I dared to ask the question.
He did.
And Bree, after a bit of thinking, said yes. And look where we are a few years later. And how wonderful is that? So yes to saying yes more often and to asking the question in the first place.
Yeah. So amazing.
So it's time to say goodbye.
That's it, everyone.
Goodbye from Australia.
Bye from Texas. Bye, y'all. See you next time. Thank you for joining us in our creative affair. If you love the passion we bring to this creative content, please support the podcast by sharing with a friend, subscribing, and leaving us a review. Thanks. If you'd like to learn more about creative photography, visit lenmetcalf.com, where you can find links to Len's photography school, videos, and publications. He would love to invite you to sign up to his newsletter. To find out more about my work, including my photography and mentoring in my Creative Confidence group coaching program, visit creativemindscoach.com. See you next time.